Paycheck Protection Program's funds are almost replenished. Yesterday, the Senate passed a $484 billion package, which includes $310 billion for the Paycheck Program, $60 billion for small business grants, $75 billion for hospitals, and $25 billion more for coronavirus testing.
The House will vote on that measure tomorrow. Democrats did succeed in getting some more money for hospitals and for testing, but failed to get any additional money for cities and states. So was the congressional Democrats' delay worth it in the end? Host and founder of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, joins us now via Skype for his perspective. Great to see you, sir.
Good to see you guys.
All right, no spin on the ball here. How did you think the Democrats did in this negotiation, Cenk?
Well, I feel like I've been watching the same movie for the last 20 years, and both sides in this movie are villains, and it's really exhausting. So, first of all, the Republicans are corrupt and monstrous, as that's the role they play every time, and then Democrats are weak and feckless. So, in this case, how does that play out? So, the Republicans are like, we're not going to give any funding to hospitals. What? Are you serious in the middle of this pandemic? And by the way, we're so stupid, we don't want to do testing. And then Democrats are like, oh, yeah? Okay, I'm going to forget all my other priorities, and I'm going to fall for this trick and go, okay, please just give me hospitals and testing funding. Why is that a thing you negotiate? Why don't you go out in the press and go, Mitch McConnell's the worst monster in the world. He doesn't want hospitals to have money in the middle of a pandemic. You need to impeach him, remove him from office. Get him out of here right now. The guy won't give money for hospitals in the worst pandemic we've ever had. But the Democrats suck at this. And of course, what we all suspect is on purpose.
And so one thing that I'm kind of shocked by, Cenk, I agree with you. Some elements of it is blatantly corrupt in the way that they're organizing this. Why is it that the progressive Democrats, you haven't seen Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, many of these actually organize any institutional power within the Congress in order to weaponize that against their leadership? I mean, I see AOC calling Nancy Pelosi like Mama Bear of the Democratic Party, and I recall seeing the Freedom Caucus and the way that they just savaged John Boehner in order to extract concessions for what they want. And it's shocking to me. Like, why aren't they using any sort of the power that they have in order to extract concessions from leadership?
Well, so this gets into the really fascinating dichotomy of Democratic leadership, which kind of betrays whether they're actually that weak and clueless, or if this is, part and parcel of how this game is played. Here's what I mean by that. The Democrats are little pussycats when they deal with Republicans. Mitch McConnell just goes, "You'll do as you're told," and Schumer and Pelosi are like, "Okay, I'm so sorry." Right? But when they turn to fight against progressives within their own party, then they turn into lions, and they do every dirty trick in the book, and wind up eviscerating the progressives, as they did it honestly in this last primary. So it turns out you weren't weak. It's just you chose to be weak against Republicans. And so that really betrays how this game is played. It's because they're all serving the same corporate donors. But in this case, to be fair and give credit to progressives, and one in particular, AOC is out there fighting the good fight. So she's the one saying, hey, wait a minute, you have your priorities completely reversed here. So people should come first. So our number one priority should be American citizens, which in Washington is a revolutionary thought. Like, oh, get out of here. We're going to give the money first to Americans? No. She's a lunatic. No, obviously we give it to multinational corporations first. And by the way, that's literally what they did. Over 90% of the money went to giant multinational corporations, then small businesses, then actual citizens. And AOC's making the argument, no, let's flip it. Let's do citizens first, small businesses second, giant corporations third. And that is great framing. That is great policy. The problem is for progressives, they often have the right policies, but they get gaslit by Democrats into not fighting too hard. Hey, don't actually overturn a vote. Because that would be real power, and you would really, really offend your cherished, beloved colleagues, the corporate Democrats.
Yeah. Well, I think that gets to the real heart of the matter, which is that the Freedom Caucus, they were willing to be villains. They were willing to be hated. They were willing to be despised by leadership. They were willing to be vilified by, a lot of the media. And often, I didn't agree with their position, right? Certainly. So I was out there calling them out as well. But they were willing to be villains. They didn't care. And I feel like on the left, there's an unwillingness to take that kind of heat and take the risk that you'll be held up as look at these progressives standing in the way of small businesses getting the little scraps that we've deigned to throw to them. Do you think that that's kind of the issue here? How do we change that power dynamic to claim the sort of power and use some of the tactics that we could learn from our adversaries?
Look, guys, this isn't complicated. This was Freedom Caucus doing correct political strategy? Of course. If you're not willing to block a vote, then you're not willing to ever get a victory. And anyone who knows politics knows that. I mean, you can't possibly have a party filled with people so stupid they don't understand that. Of course the Democrats understand that. That's why they fight like hell to make sure progressives never, ever block a vote so they can never, ever have power. And the last trick they have in their arsenal, and the one that works best against progressives, is telling them that they're not being kind. That's kryptonite to progressives. So how do they do it? They say, wow, look, I understand what you're saying, but it's so important for your colleague, Sharice Davids. She's running in the middle of Kansas, and she can't win unless she takes banker money. And you've got to help her take banker money if you overturn this vote. She's going to lose in Kansas. She's going to lose. Are you going to do that poor Sharice? Sharice is your friend. Are you going to do that to her? Swear to God. Swear to God. This is exactly how it goes. And then progressives melt. They're like, oh, no, you're right. I mean, look at the primaries. That's literally what happened with Bernie. Oh, my friend, Joe Biden, my friend. Who cares that he's your friend? For God's sake, use power. Otherwise, we're never going to win. So, again, I don't want to take away credit here because AOC's doing a wonderful job of fighting back, and she's going to vote no on this bill. So overall, there's the kernel of the right idea politically here, but they've got to join her, and they've got to have the temerity to say, I don't give a damn how Lauren Underwood is going to do. I don't care how Sharice Davids is going to do. I care about my constituents. And if I don't fight for my own voters, we're never, ever going to have change here.
Right. And what do you think this portends, Cenk, for, if a Biden presidency were to happen? As things are currently constituted, do you think that the left has their act together in order to get some of what they want out of Joe Biden as president?
I can't wait for Joe Biden to be president so I can kick his ass day in and day out. Look, Trump's a monster. He's not going to listen to anything. The idea that Trump is somehow going to be moved by progressives or that somehow progressives are going to gain power when Trump is in office. Well, how'd that work out in the last 4 years? That didn't happen. In fact, we lost power in this time because the Democrats were able to say, the boogeyman. The boogeyman's out there. No, you got to vote for corporate Democrats. Hey, if you don't vote for corporate Democrats, you're the worst person in the world, right? So they're going to be able to do that trick for another 4 years. So it's terrible if Trump's in office. If Biden's in office, then we push and we push and we push. And Biden loves to cave. It's just that he's never had any other power in D.C. to cave to. So all he's ever done is cave into Republicans. So let's create a situation where hopefully the Democrat becomes president, and then he starts caving to progressives because of how powerful we are.
Yeah. I'm curious. Let me ask you a hypothetical, Cenk, that I just am very curious about your thinking on, because what you've just laid out in terms of congressional strategy is basically look, you have to be willing to essentially say, I'll blow the whole thing up. I will block this vote. Small businesses will not get their money. You're going to call me like a jerk on MSNBC all day, but we're willing to be that crazy. If it wasn't Donald Trump, because I hear your concerns and I get your stance on that. If it was a sort of mainline Republican, standard issue Mitt Romney type Republican, let's say, that we're up against in November, wouldn't there be a similar argument that you could make for progressives to essentially do the same thing again? Say, look, you need us in November, and we're willing to blow this whole thing up if you don't give us Medicare for all, if you don't give us Green New Deal, if you don't give us some representative of our movement in actual power in the administration.
So, Crystal, I view those as two different things, because if Biden, for example, wants to win, it's not a matter of convincing me and you, Crystal. It's a matter of convincing our viewers and progressive voters. And it's not a matter of, is Biden better than Trump? It's just the reality of human nature. Are you going to be able to motivate them to get up out of their house on a Tuesday afternoon in a crisp fall day in November and go, and instead of going to have fun or going to work or being late to work for 2.5 hours because they got to wait on a damn line, are they going to be excited enough about you to vote? That's just political reality. And if you say, well, I don't want him, I don't need him, and I'm not going to excite them, well, that's on you. Then you suck at this and you'll lose like Hillary Clinton. So, but if you want to win, if you care about winning and you're desperate to beat Donald Trump, you'll give something progressives, you'll give something to be excited about for progressives so that the voters themselves go, yes, I can't wait to go do that. And if he chooses not to do that, there's nothing we can do about it. And don't get me wrong, Crystal, the first people they'll blame is you and me, okay, if they didn't do their job.
Yes, right? I'm ready for that.
But that's right. So it's on Biden and his team to create excitement for their campaign, as it is for any campaign. And then in terms of, what you do once they're in office, that's a completely different equation. And just withholding our support is not the main issue. The main issue is, are you actually going to get those voters to say, I can't wait to vote for Joe Biden? I know it seems like a sentence that's hard to imagine.
Right.
Okay, but it's on him. He's the candidate. He's got 7 months to win this thing. He better figure out how to do it.
Certainly. Good advice there, Cenk. Thank you for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, always great to have your insights, Cenk. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Of course. Next on Rising, seems some white Democrats are not happy with an older white man on the party's ticket. Someone can riddle me that one. We'll explain when Rising continues.